Hi everyone! In this series of videos, we're going to be taking a look at the different activities and resources that you can add to your T-Learn course page. The ones that don't get used as much as maybe assignments and quizzes, but are still pretty good to know where they are and how to get started with them. So today what we're going to do is just make a quick forum. So I'm going to go down to week 1 and add this forum here. I'll just call it guest speaker discussions. As always, you can add a description if you want them to see it, to see things like instructions or anything like that right here, and you can have that description on the course page if you want. You can also set availability. So unlike assignments, forums default to not having anything set here because they usually it assumes that the forum is going to go on for the entire semester, but you can turn this on if you need to. You can also talk to them, or not talk to them, but set the amount of attachments that students can add to a post. And if you are doing this as, say, a journal or something where you want to make sure that they're writing a substantial amount, you can put the word count on there as well. Subscription. So it defaults to optional subscription, but if this is something where you want them to be interacting continuously, for example, you can force a subscription if you would like. And I leave this optional so they can track whether they read it or not. Locking discussions after periods of inactivity. So this depends on what kind of forum discussions you're running. So if this is my overall guest speaker forum, and let's say I'm having 5 guest speakers this semester, it might be something where I don't necessarily want students going back and adding responses if they didn't do it at the beginning of the semester. So I can lock this guy down after 2 weeks so that they can't add anything else, go back and add anything else. We're not going to really talk too much about blocking, but basically this just means that you can set a time limit or a time period where students can't post. So this is really good to stop things like brigading or a student spamming. So if a student has posted something, then you might say, hey, wait a couple days before you post again. So, or if you're just trying to move the conversation along at a certain pace. So one of the issues with forums is a lot of times, your go-getters will all get their things done 2 minutes after the forum opens up, and then they'll respond to each other, and it'll be the 5, students in the class talking to each other, and then everybody else kind of gets theirs in before the due date, but at whatever pace they're going, but not everybody gets as many responses. So if you're doing blocking, then this can help kind of space that out in terms of having people post and then not being able to post for a couple of days, and then when they finally go back, they're forced to kind of look at everything else that's been posted and then respond. So you can use it for that. And importantly, grading. So it defaults to none, but if you would like to, you can either assign this the forum an amount of points that the students will get, or you can just do scales. So again, if you have not watched the scale grading video, scales are a little bit tricky because they basically break a course down or a grade down out of 100, and there's nothing you can do to change the math on it. So for example, satisfactory, it's got unsatisfactory, something in the middle, and then satisfactory, I think. And so unsatisfactory is 0, whatever's in the middle is 50, and satisfactory is 100. And there's nothing you can do to change those points. So if you want to give people a particular number of points based on how well they participate, how in depth they go, how many people they respond to, anything like that, just tell it how many points the entire forum is worth. And you can do that at your discretion. Ratings, again, this is something that you probably won't use too much, but as an instructor, you can rate their things. You probably don't want to use that, though. It's easier and a little bit more, probably a little bit better in terms of grade questions and that sort of things if you just give the grade and some feedback in the grade book. Common module settings restrict access, activity completion, and tags are, again, just regular settings for you as the instructor to let your students know where things are, or restrict their access, or let them see it or not see it on a page. So once you have your forum put together, you can add different topics. Now, this is something that people sometimes misunderstand. So a lot of times people think that you have to create a new forum for every single discussion that you want to have, but that's not the case. So if I have my 5 speakers that are coming in a semester, I can add all of them to this one forum. So subject number 1 might be and you would give them some posting instructions here and post to forum. So right here, I have put my first guest speaker in, and when they click on it, they will get their instructions right here. They can reply to mine, and then as people respond, so if I had, say, one person responding here, the person would also have a reply button, so they can also reply to each other. And if I go back to my forum, I can add another topic. So again, give them some post instructions. Post forum. So the forum itself is the umbrella where all of the different discussions are held. So if you have a bunch of discussions that you want students to have, whether that is guest speakers or reading responses or anything like that, you don't have to clutter up your T-Learn page by making 87 different forums. You can just go in here and make the different discussion topics. Now, this hamburger menu over here allows you to favorite the discussion, to pin the discussion, so that means if I do that, then Greg Burnham will stay on top for the entire time. This is good as you get into the semester, so if you have 16 guest speakers for whatever reason, and you've got Greg Burnham coming up, you might want to pin the discussion so it always stays at the top of the list so they can get to it easier if they're still working on other discussions. You can also lock the discussion from here, so if things are getting out of hand in some way, maybe the discussion is going in a direction that is harmful or unproductive, you can lock it for that reason. You can again lock it if you don't want students going back and completing work that's already past due, those sorts of things. So you can do all of that from here. And that is how you get started on a forum. These can be used again for discussions, for reading responses. These can be used for journal activities, those sorts of things. Really anything where you want discussion to happen amongst the students. If you have any questions, as always, you can reach me at academictechnology@trinity.edu, and I will be happy to help.